The lawyer's office smelled like old books and broken dreams. I sat across from Mr. Thornton, a balding man with glasses thicker than encyclopedias, watching him shuffle papers with the enthusiasm of someone announcing a funeral. My name is Cameron Hayes, and I was about to lose everything I'd worked for in my 32 years of life. Mr. Hayes, Thornton began, his voice heavy with practiced sympathy, your family's restaurant business is insolvent. The debt totals nearly $2 million. Bankruptcy is your only realistic option at this point. I stared at the papers he pushed across his mahogany desk, numbers swimming before my eyes like angry fish. Hayes Family Kitchen had been serving the best soul food in Atlanta for 40 years. My grandfather started it with nothing but recipes and determination. My father expanded it to 3 locations. I'd taken over 5 years ago, confident I could continue the legacy. Instead, I'd apparently driven it straight into financial disaster. My dog, Captain Biscuit, a golden retriever with terrible judgment, chose that moment to fart loudly from his spot beside my chair. Even he seemed disappointed in me. How had everything gone so wrong so quickly? 6 months ago, business had been thriving. All 3 locations stayed packed during lunch and dinner rushes. Food critics loved us. Local celebrities posted about us constantly on social media. We'd even been featured on some cooking show that made my mom cry happy tears. Then the problems started appearing like cockroaches when you turn on kitchen lights. Equipment failures at all 3 locations simultaneously. Health inspectors finding violations that definitely hadn't existed during previous inspections. Suppliers suddenly demanding payment up front instead of our usual 30-day terms. Our best chef got poached by a competitor offering twice her salary. Customers started complaining about food quality, though nothing had changed in our recipes or ingredients. Revenue dropped 40% in just 3 months. I'd taken out loans to cover the gaps, confident things would improve. They didn't. Now those loans were due, and I had nothing but empty bank accounts and mounting bills. Mr. Thornton cleared his throat, pulling me from my depressing thoughts. "There's one other matter we need to discuss," he said, looking uncomfortable. "Your uncle, Preston Hayes." I tensed at my uncle's name, feeling that familiar mixture of anger and confusion. Preston was my father's younger brother, and they'd had some kind of falling out years before I was born. Nobody ever explained exactly what happened, just that Preston and Dad didn't speak anymore. Preston had moved to California and built his own restaurant empire out there, becoming quite successful apparently. I'd never met him. "What about Preston?" I asked suspiciously. Thornton adjusted his thick glasses nervously. "He's been buying up your business debts over the past 3 months. The bank loans, supplier debts, equipment leases. He now owns approximately 85% of what your business owes." My brain struggled to process this information. My uncle bought my debts. Why would he do that? Thornton looked even more uncomfortable. Typically, when someone acquires another person's debts, it's either for investment purposes or, he trailed off meaningfully. "Or what?" I demanded. "Or to gain leverage over them," he finished quietly. "If you declare bankruptcy, Preston becomes your primary creditor. He could potentially force liquidation of all assets to recover his investment, leaving you with absolutely nothing." The room suddenly felt 10 degrees colder. I drove home in a daze, Captain Biscuit's head hanging out the passenger window, his ears flapping majestically in the wind. He had no idea our lives were falling apart, lucky dog. My apartment was nothing fancy, just a 1-bedroom place above a dry cleaner that made everything smell vaguely like chemicals and broken promises. I collapsed on my worn couch, staring at the ceiling and trying to understand why my uncle would deliberately buy my debts. We'd never even met. What kind of grudge lasts 30-plus years and targets the next generation? My phone buzzed with a text from my mom. "Dinner Sunday. Making your favorite pot roast." I couldn't bring myself to tell her yet that her family's legacy restaurant was about to be seized and sold off to pay my uncle's investment. She'd been so proud when I took over management, bragging to all her church friends about her successful son. Now I was about to become the Hayes who destroyed everything. I needed answers, and there was only one person who might have them. My father lived in a retirement community now after a stroke last year left him partially paralyzed. Dad's room at Sunny Meadows Retirement Village was decorated with old photos of the restaurant's glory days. Pictures of him and Grandpa standing proudly in front of the original location. Me as a kid covered in flour from helping in the kitchen. Family gatherings where everyone looked genuinely happy. He was sitting in his wheelchair by the window when I arrived, staring out at the garden with that distant expression he often wore now. "Hey, Dad," I said softly, sitting in the chair beside him. "We need to talk about Uncle Preston." His whole body went rigid. His good hand clenched the armrest so hard his knuckles turned white. When he turned to look at me, his eyes held a mixture of fear and old anger I'd never seen before. "What about Preston?" His speech was still slurred from the stroke, but the emotion came through clearly. I explained everything. The mysterious business problems, the mounting debts, Preston buying everything up, the impending bankruptcy. Dad's face grew darker with each detail. When I finished, he was silent for a long moment, struggling with words. "Preston," he finally managed, "wants revenge for something that happened long time ago, very long time." Getting the full story from Dad took nearly an hour because of his speech difficulties, but eventually the pieces came together. 35 years ago, my grandfather had only enough money to help one son start a restaurant. He'd chosen my father over Preston because Dad was older and married with a kid on the way. Preston had been devastated and furious, feeling like he'd been passed over unfairly. He'd sworn he'd prove himself better than Dad and make Grandpa regret his choice. Preston had moved to California and worked brutal hours at other people's restaurants, learning and saving money. He eventually opened his own place and found success through apparently ruthless business practices. Over the years, he built a small empire of restaurants across the West Coast. He never married, never had kids, just focused entirely on business and apparently nursing his grudge against our family. "But Dad," I said, confused, "that was decades ago. Grandpa's been dead for 10 years. Why come after me now? I wasn't even born when all that happened." Dad gripped my hand with his good one, squeezing hard. "Because," he struggled to say, "you represent everything he never had, family legacy, grandfather's approval, the original restaurant he wanted." His eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry, son, this is my fault." I left the retirement home feeling worse than when I'd arrived. This wasn't just about business or money. This was about a family grudge that had festered for 3 decades, and I was collateral damage in someone else's war. Captain Biscuit sensed my mood and rested his head on my lap during the drive home, offering the kind of unconditional support only dogs can provide. That night, I did something probably stupid. I found Preston's restaurant group's website and located his email address. I wrote him a message, keeping it simple and direct. "Uncle Preston, I'm Cameron, your nephew. I know you've been buying up my business debts. I don't understand why you're doing this, but I'd like to talk. Whatever happened between you and Dad was before my time. Can we meet and discuss this like adults? I'm drowning here, and I don't even know what I did wrong." I hit send before I could overthink it, then opened a beer and watched terrible reality TV until I fell asleep on the couch. Captain Biscuit snored beside me, unbothered by family drama or financial ruin. The next morning I had a response waiting. Preston's email was brief and cold. "Cameron, meet me at the original Hayes family kitchen location. Saturday, 10 a.m. Come alone." Well, at least he was willing to talk. Saturday arrived with the speed of an approaching train wreck. I spent Friday night unable to sleep, running through possible conversation scenarios in my head. None of them ended well. I arrived at the original restaurant location 15 minutes early, my stomach doing nervous backflips. The place looked tired in the morning light. Desperately needing a fresh coat of paint and some serious maintenance I couldn't afford. A black luxury car was already parked outside, because apparently Preston couldn't even show up fashionably late. He was sitting in a booth by the window, and I recognized him immediately from his resemblance to Dad. Same strong jawline, same broad shoulders, but where Dad had always been warm and approachable, Preston radiated cold calculation. He wore an expensive suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. His hair was perfectly styled silver and his watch could have fed a small country. "Cameron," he said, not standing or offering to shake hands. "Sit down." I slid into the booth across from him, feeling underdressed in my jeans and button-up shirt. "Thanks for meeting me, Uncle Preston." "Don't call me Uncle," he said sharply. "We're not family in any meaningful sense." Preston ordered coffee when our waitress appeared, not even bothering to look at the menu he probably knew by heart. I ordered the same, my mouth too dry for actual words. We sat in uncomfortable silence until the coffee arrived. Finally, Preston spoke. "I suppose you're wondering why I've acquired your debts." "That's definitely high on my list of questions," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Along with why you're doing this to me specifically. I never did anything to you." Preston smiled, but it held no warmth whatsoever. "You exist. You represent the continuation of a legacy that should have been mine. Your grandfather chose wrong 35 years ago, and your father never acknowledged it." He leaned forward. "I built an empire despite being rejected. I became more successful than your father ever was, but I never got what I actually wanted, which was recognition and respect from the Hayes family." I stared at him, disbelief flooding through me. "So you're destroying my life because of something that happened before I was born? That's insane." Preston's expression hardened. "I'm simply claiming what should have been mine from the beginning. These restaurants, this legacy, should have been built by me." The conversation went downhill from there. Preston laid out his plan with the casual cruelty of someone who'd spent years perfecting it. He'd deliberately sabotaged my business over the past 6 months through various underhanded tactics. The equipment failures. He'd bribed maintenance workers to damage machinery. The health inspection violations. He had connections with corrupt inspectors who planted evidence. The supplier problems. He'd threatened them with losing his much larger accounts unless they made my life difficult. My chef being poached, he'd orchestrated that too. "You're admitting to multiple crimes," I said, my voice shaking with anger. "I could report you, press charges." Preston laughed genuinely at that. "With what evidence? Everything was done through intermediaries and untraceable payments. You'd never prove anything, and I have far better lawyers than you could ever afford." He took a sip of coffee, looking satisfied. "Here's what's going to happen. You'll declare bankruptcy. I'll buy all the assets for pennies on the dollar. The Hayes family kitchen will become part of my restaurant group, properly managed and expanded under my control. You'll walk away with nothing, just like I did 35 years ago." His smile was predatory. "Consider it poetic justice." I wanted to punch him, I wanted to scream. Instead, I just sat there feeling completely helpless. "You're punishing me for something my grandfather did," I said quietly. "That's not justice, that's just cruelty." Preston stood up, throwing cash on the table for the coffee he'd barely touched. "Life isn't fair, Cameron. I learned that lesson the hard way. Now it's your turn." He walked toward the door, then paused and looked back. "For what it's worth, your fried chicken recipe is excellent. I'll keep that on the menu when I take over." Then he was gone, leaving me alone in the restaurant my family had built, surrounded by memories and impending loss. I sat there for a long time, staring at nothing, trying to figure out how to fight someone who held all the cards. Captain Biscuit would have offered emotional support, but I'd left him home, afraid Preston might kick dogs or something equally villainous. Finally, I pulled out my phone and called the one person who might have ideas. My best friend, Tyler, was an investigative journalist who specialized in exposing corporate corruption. If anyone could help me find dirt on Preston, it was him. Tyler met me at a dive bar that afternoon, already 3 beers ahead of me based on his slightly unfocused eyes. "So your uncle is basically a supervillain," he summarized after I explained everything. "Rich, successful, harboring a decades-old grudge and actively sabotaging your life. That's some serious comic book stuff. Can you help me or not?" I asked desperately. "I need something, anything I can use against him. There has to be some way to stop this." Tyler pulled out his laptop, already switching into journalist mode. "Give me everything you know about his business. Company names, locations, partners, anything. If he's been sabotaging you through illegal means, he's probably done similar things before. Men like that don't suddenly become corrupt. They have patterns." I told him everything I could remember from Preston's website and our conversation. Tyler's fingers flew across the keyboard, pulling up articles, business records, and social media posts. After about 20 minutes of intense searching, he suddenly stopped, his eyes widening. "Oh, this is interesting," he muttered. "Very interesting indeed. What did you find?" Tyler turned the laptop toward me, showing a news article from 5 years ago. "Your Uncle Preston was sued by a former business partner named Antonio Vasquez. The lawsuit alleged fraud, intimidation, and theft of intellectual property." I scanned the article quickly, my heart racing. Antonio had claimed Preston stole his restaurant concept and recipes, then forced him out of their partnership through threats and financial manipulation. The case had been settled out of court for an undisclosed amount, with both parties signing non-disclosure agreements. "This proves he's done this before," I said excitedly. "We can use this." Tyler held up a warning hand. "Not exactly. The NDA means Antonio legally can't talk about it. And a settled lawsuit doesn't prove current crimes." He clicked through more pages. "But here's where it gets interesting. I found 3 other former partners or employees who have made similar allegations over the years, all settled quietly with NDAs. That's a pattern." He looked at me seriously. "If we could get any of these people to talk, even off the record, we might have something. But breaking an NDA can result in massive financial penalties." I slumped back in my chair. "So we're back to having nothing useful." "Not nothing," Tyler corrected. "We have leads. We have a pattern of behavior. We just need someone brave or angry enough to risk talking." He grinned suddenly. "And lucky for you, I happen to be very good at convincing people to talk." Over the next 2 weeks, Tyler worked his journalist magic. He tracked down Antonio Vasquez, who was now running a small taco truck in San Diego and still bitter about his experience with Preston. Tyler also found a former employee named Keisha who'd been fired after refusing to participate in what she called shady business practices. Neither would go on record initially, too scared of legal consequences. But Tyler was persistent and persuasive, explaining how their stories could stop Preston from destroying another person's life and business. Meanwhile, I was drowning in paperwork and lawyer meetings, trying to delay the inevitable bankruptcy filing. Mr. Thornton kept pushing me to just accept defeat and move on. "Cut your losses," he advised weakly. "Start fresh somewhere else. Sometimes fighting isn't worth the cost." But I couldn't let go. This wasn't just about money or business anymore. It was about principle and family legacy, and refusing to let a bitter old man win through corruption and manipulation. My mom noticed something was wrong during our Sunday dinners, though I kept deflecting her questions. "You look tired, baby," she'd say, concerned. "Are you eating properly, getting enough sleep?" I'd lie and say everything was fine, work was just stressful. She didn't need the burden of knowing the truth yet. The breakthrough came on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. Tyler called me, practically shouting with excitement. "Cameron, you need to get to my apartment right now. Antonio agreed to talk, and what he's saying is explosive." I drove there so fast I probably deserved several speeding tickets. Tyler lived in a cluttered studio apartment that smelled like coffee and old pizza. Antonio was sitting on the couch. A nervous-looking man in his 50s with tired eyes. "Mr. Vasquez," I said, shaking his hand. "Thank you for agreeing to talk to us." Antonio nodded slowly. "I shouldn't be doing this. The NDA I signed has serious penalties, but Tyler explained what Preston is doing to you, and I can't stay quiet anymore. That man destroyed my dreams once. I won't let him do it to someone else." He pulled out a folder of documents he'd apparently kept hidden for years. Inside were emails, financial records, and handwritten notes detailing Preston's fraud. "I kept copies of everything before the lawsuit," Antonio explained. "I know I wasn't supposed to, but I didn't trust him to honor the settlement. These show exactly how he stole my recipes, manipulated our partnership agreement, and threatened my family when I tried to fight back." Tyler and I spent hours going through Antonio's documents, cross-referencing everything with what we knew about Preston's current business practices. The pattern was undeniable and damning. Preston had built his empire partially through legitimate hard work, but also through systematic fraud, intimidation, and theft of other people's ideas. Keisha, the former employee Tyler had tracked down, agreed to provide a statement describing the illegal activities she'd witnessed. Health inspection bribes, supplier intimidation, stolen recipes from competing restaurants. She'd been fired when she threatened to report everything to authorities. "Why didn't you report it anyway?" I asked during our phone conversation. Keisha laughed bitterly. "I tried. Preston has connections everywhere. The authorities I contacted either ignored me or warned me about making false accusations against respected businessmen. He's protected by money and influence." That was exactly what Preston had counted on when he admitted his crimes to me. He thought he was untouchable, but he'd made one crucial mistake. He'd underestimated how determined people could be when they'd been wronged, and how powerful their combined stories could become. Tyler started writing his exposé that night, weaving together Antonio's documents, Keisha's testimony, and my own experience into a comprehensive takedown of Preston's corrupt business practices. The article was published in Tyler's newspaper 3 weeks later with the headline "Restaurant Empire Built on Fraud and Intimidation: The Dark Truth About Preston Hayes." It went viral immediately. Within hours, other victims started coming forward with their own stories. Former employees, business partners, suppliers who'd been threatened. The floodgates opened, and Preston's carefully constructed image crumbled like a house of cards in a hurricane. Local news stations picked up the story. National food industry publications ran follow-up pieces. Social media exploded with outrage and calls for investigation. Several of Preston's restaurant locations saw protests. Celebrity chefs who'd previously praised him quickly distanced themselves. His reputation, the thing he'd apparently valued above all else, was destroyed in a matter of days. The state attorney general announced an investigation into Preston's business practices. The FBI got involved due to the interstate nature of some alleged crimes. Several of his restaurants temporarily closed pending investigation. His stock price crashed. Major investors pulled their support. Within a week, Preston Hayes had gone from respected restaurant mogul to disgraced businessman facing potential criminal charges. The irony was beautiful. He'd spent 35 years building an empire to prove he was better than my family, then destroyed it all through his own corruption and arrogance. Preston called me exactly once after the article published. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "You destroyed me," he said, his voice shaking with rage. "Everything I built, everything I worked for, gone because you couldn't accept losing gracefully." I laughed at that, genuinely amused by his complete lack of self-awareness. "I destroyed you. You destroyed yourself through fraud and corruption. I just made sure people knew the truth." "The truth is subjective," Preston spat. "I did what was necessary to succeed in a competitive industry." "The truth is you're a criminal who hurt innocent people for decades," I replied calmly. "And now you're facing consequences for your actions. That's not me destroying you, that's called justice." There was a long pause. When Preston spoke again, his voice was different, smaller somehow. "I just wanted what should have been mine. The restaurant, the recognition, the family legacy. Was that so wrong?" I felt a strange mixture of pity and anger. Wanting those things wasn't wrong, but how you went about trying to get them was absolutely wrong. You could have built something amazing on your own without destroying other people. Instead, you let bitterness consume you for 35 years. "I hope you're satisfied," Preston said bitterly. "Congratulations on beating me." He hung up before I could respond. The legal aftermath was complicated and lengthy. Preston faced criminal charges in 3 states for various fraud and intimidation crimes. His restaurant group filed for bankruptcy, ironically. The court appointed a trustee to oversee the liquidation of assets. Many of his restaurants were sold off to competitors or closed permanently. Preston himself faced the possibility of serious prison time. Meanwhile, my own business situation improved dramatically. The publicity from Tyler's article brought unexpected support. Customers flooded back to Hayes' family kitchen, wanting to support the small business that had stood up to corruption. Food critics wrote positive reviews emphasizing our authentic family recipes and genuine values. Local business organizations donated money to help us recover from the sabotage. Several suppliers offered us better terms than before, ashamed they'd been manipulated into causing problems. A restaurant investor group approached me with an offer. They'd pay off all remaining debts in exchange for minority partnership in the business. I'd maintain full creative control and management, but have their financial backing for expansion. After reviewing everything with Mr. Thornton, who seemed shocked I'd survived this mess, I accepted. Hayes' family kitchen wasn't just saved. It was positioned for growth in ways I'd never imagined possible. 6 months after Tyler's article published, we opened a 4th location, then a 5th. Business was booming. Dad cried when I told him the full story of what had happened and how it ended. We were sitting in his room at Sunny Meadows, both of us emotional messes. "I'm sorry," he kept saying, his speech still slurred but his meaning clear. "This was my fault. My relationship with Preston caused this." I shook my head firmly. "No, Dad, Preston's choices caused this. His bitterness, his corruption, his crimes. You didn't make him become that person. He chose that path himself." Dad gripped my hand with his good one. "I'm proud of you, son. You fought back against someone powerful and won. You saved our family's legacy." That made me tear up completely. I had a lot of help. Tyler, Antonio, Keisha, and all the other people Preston hurt who found the courage to speak up. It wasn't just me. "But you started it," Dad insisted. "You refused to accept defeat. That took courage I wasn't sure you had." He smiled slightly. "I underestimated you just like Preston did." We sat together quietly after that, watching the garden outside his window. Captain Biscuit, who I'd brought along for this visit, rested his head on Dad's lap, offering silent support. Sometimes the best moments don't need words, just presence and understanding. Preston's trial became a media sensation, covered extensively by local and national news. He'd hired expensive lawyers who tried every trick to get charges dismissed or reduced, but the evidence was overwhelming. Antonio's documents, Keisha's testimony, my recordings of Preston admitting his crimes, statements from dozens of other victims. The prosecution built an airtight case. I attended the trial whenever possible, sitting in the gallery and watching my uncle's empire definitively crumble in a courtroom. He looked smaller somehow, diminished by the weight of his actions finally catching up with him. Gone was the arrogant businessman who'd threatened me in that restaurant booth. In his place sat a tired old man who'd wasted his life on revenge and bitterness. The jury deliberated for 3 days before returning with their verdict. Guilty on 17 counts including fraud, extortion, bribery, and conspiracy. The judge sentenced Preston to 12 years in federal prison with no possibility of parole for at least 8 years. He'd be 70 years old before he could even apply for early release. As he was led away in handcuffs, Preston looked at me one final time. Our eyes met across the courtroom. I saw no anger there anymore, just profound sadness and regret. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Life moved forward after the trial ended. Hayes' family kitchen continued thriving, expanding to 7 locations across Georgia. We'd become something of a success story, the little family business that survived corporate sabotage and came back stronger. Food magazines wrote features about us. Business schools used our story as a case study in resilience and ethics. I gave occasional talks about standing up to corruption despite intimidation. It was surreal going from nearly bankrupt to moderately famous within a year. My personal life improved too. I started dadding again after focusing solely on business survival for so long. Her name was Priya, and she was a food blogger who'd written positively about our restaurants during the darkest times. We bonded over shared love of good food and appreciation for family values. Captain Biscuit approved of her immediately, which I took as a good sign. Mom was thrilled I'd saved the family business and found a girlfriend. She started making unsubtle hints about grandchildren during our Sunday dinners. "I'm not getting any younger," she'd say innocently. "Would be nice to have little ones running around before I'm too old to enjoy them." Priya and I would just laugh and change the subject, though honestly, the idea didn't sound terrible anymore. Stability and happiness made future planning feel possible again. Tyler won several journalism awards for his exposé on Preston, which he absolutely deserved. He parlayed the attention into a better job at a major investigative news outlet. We still met regularly for beers and terrible bar food, talking about everything and nothing. "You know what's weird?" Tyler said during one of these hangouts. "A year ago you were losing everything. Now you're basically living the dream. Success, love, family, legacy secured. How does that feel?" I thought about it seriously. Honestly, it feels like I survived something that should have destroyed me, like I went through fire and came out different on the other side. I took a drink. But also grateful. Grateful for friends who helped. Grateful for people like Antonio who found courage to speak truth. Grateful that justice actually worked for once. Tyler raised his glass. To justice, courage, and destroying your enemies through legal means rather than violence. "I'll drink to that," I agreed, clinking my glass against his. We sat in comfortable silence for a moment. "Also," Tyler added, "your uncle was genuinely stupid for admitting his crimes directly to you, like cartoon villain levels of stupid." That made me laugh until I nearly spit out my beer. He was absolutely right. Sometimes I thought about Preston sitting in federal prison, stripped of everything he'd built. Part of me felt victorious, vindicated by his downfall, but another part felt sad about the waste of it all. He'd been talented and hardworking, could have built something legitimate and wonderful. Instead, he'd let a 35-year-old grudge poison his entire life and eventually destroy him. What a tragedy. I never visited him in prison. Some people suggested I should, said it might bring closure or healing, but I had nothing to say to Preston Hayes. He'd made his choices, hurt countless people, and faced appropriate consequences. My closure came from saving my family's business and moving forward with my life. He could find his own peace or not. That wasn't my responsibility or problem anymore. The original Hayes family kitchen location got a complete renovation using part of our new profits. We kept everything that made it special, the vintage photos and family recipes and warm atmosphere. But we updated the equipment, refreshed the decor, and added a small museum section honoring my grandfather's legacy. A plaque on the wall told our story, including the recent challenges we'd overcome. "This restaurant represents 4 generations of the Hayes family," it read. "Built on hard work, maintained through integrity, and preserved through courage. May it serve this community for generations to come." Antonio Vasquez became an unexpected friend. After testifying at Preston's trial, he used part of his settlement money to finally open his dream restaurant in San Diego. He invited me to the grand opening, which I attended with Priya. His place was beautiful, serving amazing Mexican fusion cuisine that deserved all the success in the world. "Thank you," Antonio said, hugging me outside his restaurant, "for giving me the courage to finally tell my story and stop letting Preston control my life through fear." "Thank you," I replied sincerely, "for being brave enough to speak up when it really mattered. You saved my business and probably prevented Preston from destroying other people." We stayed in touch after that, occasionally consulting each other about restaurant management challenges. He'd learned lessons through his painful experience with Preston that proved valuable. Sometimes wisdom comes from surviving betrayals. Keisha also benefited from speaking out. Several restaurants offered her management positions after learning about her ethical stance and what she'd endured. She chose a position at a restaurant group known for integrity and social responsibility. "I'll never work for anyone like Preston again," she told me during a phone call. "Life's too short to compromise your values for a paycheck." I agreed completely. Money and success meant nothing if you sacrificed your soul to get them. The 5-year anniversary of our near bankruptcy became an unofficial celebration. I threw a party at the original restaurant location, inviting everyone who'd helped us survive. Tyler, Antonio, Keisha, our loyal employees, the investor group, even Mr. Thornton, the lawyer. Mom cried happy tears seeing everyone together. Dad attended too. His condition improved enough to leave the retirement home for special occasions. Even Captain Biscuit got to come, wearing a ridiculous bow tie that Priya insisted made him look distinguished. We toasted to survival, justice, and family, to speaking truth and standing against corruption, to second chances and the power of community support, to dogs wearing bow ties and lawyers with hearts, to everything that had brought us from the edge of destruction to this moment of celebration. During dinner, I stood up to give a short speech. 5 years ago, I thought I'd lost everything. My business, my family's legacy, my future. I felt helpless against someone powerful who wanted to destroy me. I looked around the room at all the faces, old and new. But I learned something important. You're never truly helpless as long as you have friends willing to stand beside you, courage to speak truth, and faith that justice can prevail. We survived because good people chose to do the right thing, even when it was scary or difficult. I raised my glass. So thank you, all of you, for saving not just a restaurant, but proving that integrity matters more than power, and truth is stronger than corruption. Looking back on everything now, I barely recognized the desperate person I'd been in Mr. Thornton's office that first day. That Cameron had felt defeated, trapped, helpless against forces beyond his control. This Cameron knew better, knew that power comes from standing firm in your values, that wealth means nothing without integrity, that family legacies are about more than just buildings and businesses. They're about the values you pass down and the principles you refuse to compromise. Preston had wanted recognition and respect, but tried to gain them through fear and corruption. In the end, he got neither. Meanwhile, I'd earned both simply by refusing to accept injustice and standing up for what was right. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't also tragic. Sometimes I wondered what would have happened if I just accepted Preston's destruction of my business. If I declared bankruptcy, walked away, started fresh somewhere else like Mr. Thornton suggested. Would Preston have been satisfied? Would he have finally let go of his 35-year grudge? Or would he have just found another target, another victim to hurt in his quest for revenge against a dead man and a choice made before I was born? I suspected the latter. Men like Preston don't find peace through destroying others. They just create more emptiness. The restaurant industry changed somewhat after Preston's case became public. Regulatory bodies increased oversight of major restaurant groups. Whistleblower protections got strengthened. Several states passed laws making certain types of supplier intimidation explicitly illegal. It wasn't a revolution, but it was progress. And it happened because people like Antonio and Keisha found courage to speak up, and journalists like Tyler did their job exposing corruption. Small changes rippling outward. Making the world slightly better. That felt meaningful. Priya and I got engaged 2 years after we started dating. I proposed at the original restaurant location during a quiet Sunday evening when it was just us and Captain Biscuit and memories of everything we'd survived. She said yes immediately, crying and laughing at the same time. Mom absolutely lost her mind with joy. Dad smiled so wide I thought his face might break. Even Captain Biscuit seemed pleased, though he might have just been excited about the celebratory steak scraps. We planned a small wedding focusing on family and close friends rather than anything elaborate. After everything we'd been through, simplicity and authenticity felt more important than expensive displays. What mattered was celebrating love and commitment surrounded by people who genuinely cared about us, not impressing strangers with fancy decorations. Preston's appeals were denied, and he remained in federal prison serving his sentence. I heard through legal connections that he'd become something of a model prisoner, teaching business classes to other inmates and apparently reflecting on his choices. Maybe prison gave him the perspective and time for self-examination he'd never allowed himself before. Maybe he finally understood that revenge and bitterness had cost him everything that mattered. Or maybe he was just behaving well, hopping for early parole. I didn't particularly care either way. He'd lost the power to affect my life or thoughts. The final chapter in this story happened 7 years after everything began. Hayes' family kitchen had expanded to 12 locations across 3 states. We'd become a regional success story while maintaining our family atmosphere and values. I was married to Priya. We had a 2-year-old daughter named Maya and another baby on the way. Life was genuinely good in ways I'd once thought impossible. Captain Biscuit was older and grayer but still farting at inappropriate moments and offering unwavering emotional support. Dad had passed away peacefully 2 years earlier, proud and satisfied that the family legacy continued. Mom was an enthusiastic grandmother who spoiled Maya absolutely rotten. The restaurant that Preston had tried so desperately to destroy was thriving beyond anything we'd imagined, built on the foundation of integrity, community support, and refusing to surrender to corruption. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's just living well, standing firm in your values, and building something meaningful that lasts. Preston had learned that lesson the hard way. I'd learned it too, though thankfully from a much better,